Well, hello everyone. It's Sibyl Star. I'm here to give the update for the lunar eclipse that is happening on Friday, June 5th. It is at 15 degrees of Sagittarius, and it occurs on June 5th at 12:13 p.m. Pacific time. So what is an eclipse? This is a year of a lot of eclipses. We have 6 eclipses this year, which is really a lot. It's very unusual. We usually have 4 eclipses. So this is the second one this year. We had one in January, and we have 3 this summer. We have 2 lunar eclipses and 1 solar eclipse, and then we have 2 more eclipses, one in November and one in December. So and eclipses bring change. Eclipses are harbingers of change. Because what happens in a lunar eclipse is it happens at a full moon when the sun and the moon are on opposite sides of the earth, and the moon has no light of her own, so she's only reflecting the light of the sun. And the shadow of the earth comes between them. And everything in our solar system is made of photons of the sun. And so when that light is stopped, it allows other energies to come in, and it changes the electromagnetic field of the earth. That is why, so many, let's say, ancient traditions recognize that things were different during an eclipse, and they would actually stay indoors. They did not want to be out in the midst of that eclipse energy, because things were really unsettled. So eclipses are harbingers of change, and lunar eclipses are of the heart. It is more of a relationship, emotional dynamic, but it also brings to light things that have been hidden. And so what might it be bringing to light that has been hidden? Well, we're going to look at the chart of the eclipse for a few minutes so that you can see all of the territory that we'll be covering tonight, to help us understand it better. All right, so we're going to screen share here for just a minute. All right. So here is the chart of the actual eclipse and what we're going to be talking about tonight. So first off, here is the lunar eclipse herself. She's here in the moon. This is the crescent moon. She's in the sign of Sagittarius, 15 degrees of Sagittarius. And by the way, this is what's called an Eris chart. So everything is kind of in its own house. And so we have the Sun and Venus retrograde here in Gemini opposing this eclipse. And we have a Neptune-Mars conjunction in Pisces that's in a square to this eclipse. Mars is exactly square this eclipse. And so there's a lot of Mars energy as well as Neptune energy in this eclipse. We're also going to be talking about tonight the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction, which is in Capricorn, and Saturn is over here in 1 degree Aquarius, but it's retrograde. It's getting ready to go back into Capricorn, and it's going to be it's not going to be an exact conjunction, but it's going to emphasize the Capricorn energy again really strongly. Now, this conjunction here in Capricorn of these planets is in a square to Eris, and Eris is the feminine warrior. We're going to be talking about Eris tonight. And she's a dwarf planet that was discovered in the last 15 years, whose energy has just become really strong. We're also going to be talking about Uranus in Taurus. Even though it's not really part of the eclipse energy, it's still very active and important. And so so I just wanted to go to one more screen here. Oh, yes, I wanted to show you this. I saw this and I thought, oh my gosh, this, we're in the midst of this storm, and this kind of looks like the storm to me. So I just wanted to share this. And it says, because we're in the midst of change. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And that is really where we are at. All right, so I'm going to come back here. All right, so now we're going to talk about Sagittarius. What does that mean? The eclipse in Sagittarius brings that energy. And Sagittarius is the quest for the truth. It is the seeker, the journeyer. And it has to do with our belief systems. And during this time, we might find that some of our belief systems fail us because they really no longer serve us as we are moving forward. And during this time, we might encounter some cognitive dissonance as our belief systems, as different truths and information come out, beliefs that we have always held may no longer support the reality that we're experiencing. And sometimes when cognitive dissonance comes in, it can really be hard to let go of old beliefs, because our old beliefs sometimes give us a safety net, even if they're not true. And yet we're really being asked to look deeply at our belief systems and the quest for truth. And the truth, what is the truth? Well, there's cosmic truth and there's personal truth. And personal truth is our own truth. And for example, a personal truth for me is that my belief in astrology, my belief that how it helps bring me deep levels of self-understanding and understanding of my world, and all of the gifts that it brings to me, and how it works isn't as important as that it does work. It's one of those things that there's a mystery behind it, but I believe it. Not everyone believes it, and not everyone has to believe it. And someone else might, have a belief in something else that I don't believe in. And that's our personal truth. A cosmic truth is something such as the golden rule: do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It is how we treat other people. That is a cosmic truth. And so the key is to get our own personal truth lined up with cosmic truth. But not everybody has to share a personal truth. But the cosmic truth, yes. And the shadow side of Sagittarius is fundamentalism, is believing that, or having the notion that one's personal truth is truth for everyone. And everyone has to believe the same thing. And so that is another thing that will be coming up in this lunar eclipse. And like I said, they often eclipses show us what has been hidden. What has been hidden comes to light. And so something we have believed may be shown to be false at this time. And if it does come through, take that to heart and know that if it is, it's a personal truth that needs to change. Okay. Now, as we saw, I think I'm going to go to the Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter dance that those three planets are doing with each other right now, because it is also about the truth. It takes us deeply into the truth, some hard truths. We are going through a dark night of the soul. We've had these first it was the coronavirus, and that was Mother Earth coming through, just really showing us how we have poisoned ourselves and each other. And it was teaching us some karma around that. And one of the ways is about how we treat each other. It's karma about how we treat each other and Mother Earth. And so the uprisings that we are experiencing are about how we treat each other. Pluto is like a volcano. It has a volcanic energy. And there are people that just have kind of just reached their edge and can no longer, the things that have been held in need to be expressed. And it is a volcanic kind of an energy. And I do want to bring in Mars, because Mars is in a square to this lunar eclipse. And Mars is the warrior, and Mars is the one that is the defender, and the one that sets the line in the sand and says, no, this is the boundary. We can't go any further. And that's what it feels like. Both of these energies are working together. I'm going to talk more about Mars later on, but Mars is a really big player in this energy. And so is Pluto. They say Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. And they're actually, they will be in a sextile to each other soon. But anyway, so Pluto is the god of death, and Saturn is the lord of karma. And they are, dancing together. And, they have a 30+ year cycle. They meet 3 times a century. And when they meet up, stuff happens. And they had an opposition in 2001 on 9/11. They were on the ascendant descendant of the chart of the United States, so it was really activated. And they were in a square during the Rodney King riots of 1992. Now they're in a conjunction. And the last time they were in a conjunction in Capricorn was 500 years ago. They meet in a conjunction every 30 years, but not always in the same sign. And so they met in January 12th, 2020, and in Capricorn. And so when the Lord of Karma and the God of Death meet up in the sign of Capricorn, Capricorn has to do with the patriarchy. It has to do with the it is the sign most associated with the patriarchy, put it that way. There are many things associated with it. But it has to do with the structures that we have created that support our civilization. And Pluto brings in breakdown and decay. We are moving into a dark night of the soul here. And the karma, I mean, the last time they met together in Capricorn was 500 years ago. It was 1518, I believe, which was the beginning of the colonization of the Americas. So it is that colonizing energy is that we are reaping our karma from. We are reaping what we have sown. And when Saturn comes in and says, your karma is due, it's not here just to punish us. It is here to tell us to make things right. It's like, Mother Earth is moving into higher dimensions and we are moving with her. And we need to deal with this old stuff that is rising to the surface. That is this plutonic, volcanic energy that is rising up, things that have been repressed, and it's rising to the surface. And it's how our brothers and sisters of color have been treated here. Then this is the karma of the United States. I mean, it's happening. Of course, this aspect is happening all over the world, but the whole world isn't experiencing our karma. It's our karma coming due. And so how are we going to move forward? How are we going to deal with this? Well, the first thing, of course, is the truth telling. We need to face some hard truths. Like that quote from James Baldwin, there are some hard truths that need facing for real change to happen. And breakdown is painful. Decay and corruption of these institutions are being shown to us. And of course, we've known for a long time that our government is corrupt. We've known for a long time our financial systems are corrupt. The coronavirus is showing us the deep levels of corruption in our healthcare. I mean, now I'm not talking about our doctors and our nurses. I'm talking about the establishment and how it is so intertwined with corporations and the government in their response to the coronavirus. It is not just a humanitarian response. There is some issues of control and separation, the tracing and the tracking. I mean, they're already using that on the protesters in Minnesota. It was developed, quote, for tracking the virus, but they're now using it for other reasons. But the really big one that is showing up in these uprisings is our police state, of how we have become a militarized police state. And how that came to be, and the military industrial complex selling weapons to our police departments, the Department of Defense with the military industrial complex selling weapons of basically mass destruction of to our police, tanks, and just horrible weapons to use against the people. Other things that are coming to light, and I did not know this, in the article that I read said hundreds of our police are being trained by Israeli forces in occupied Palestine. I mean, talk about a lack of, humanitarian of heart for people. And we also know at least 20% of our police force comes from duty in the Middle East, where there's a lot of programming going on these soldiers, and they come back really damaged, well, from the programming as well as from their experiences there. And I know not everyone who has come back is damaged, but many are. And they are still letting them into the police force without being healed. In native cultures, when after a war, the warriors were not allowed to come back into the tribe until they'd gone through a ceremonial healing, where that energy was released. And we just bring them right back in without doing any serious healing, and don't really pay a lot of attention to them. There are some healing things happening, but it's not really to do with the police force. And so, I mean, I think there's some big truths that we are facing at this time, of what is happening, and to be able to deal with it effectively, we have to be able to name it and say what it is. And to know that there is just simply volcanic forces at hand. Pluto times are times when you have to feel it. It's not gonna, a change never comes unless we feel it. And people are feeling it. They recognize it's like a friend of mine said, why now? These things have been happening for a long time. Well, of course, it's all about timing. And being in lockdown for the coronavirus, so many people are out of work, they're anxious, they're worried, and it's like a tinderbox, just a match, just getting ready to ignite. It's a multifactorial issue, but definitely racism. Let's put it this way: racial injustice, economic injustice, and environmental injustice are all showing their hands right now, and they're all coming together at once. So it is erupting in a volcanic energy. Now, the other thing that I see going on is, well, let me to go one more step. Okay, so personally, all right, so Pluto is retrograde personally. So all of this is also going on in our own psyches. It's not just in the outer world, it's our inner world that creates our outer world. And we are all going through our own dark night of the soul in some way, into how, uh, because we are in the midst of a breakdown. Okay, we are in the breakdown phase. So it is triggering a lot of stuff in each one of us, and we are all dancing with our own shadow. As Mother Earth is moving into these higher dimensions, she is casting off these lower vibrations, and that's what we need to do as well. That's why our shadow is coming up personally and collectively. This healing needs to be done. Things need to be made right. And it's like the onion. We just kind of go deeper and deeper. It's, or you could say a spiral as well. We go to deeper levels, often of the same issue. They come up for us to dance with and look at and heal. Pluto is like the rotor-rooter of the emotional body. Wants to root out all of the, any place that is not love. And Pluto is about self-empowerment. All the places where we have made disempowering choices. And we certainly have done that in our political system. In so many ways, we've given away our power, and, just believe people were going to take care of stuff that they never did. And, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, where it really is about the power of the people, and remembering that, we are the ones we've been waiting for. There's no savior coming. Don't expect any political figures to save us now. This is really about each of us and doing our own inner work and making choices, making different choices. That's what it is about. And it is also about where we are out of alignment with the truth, with our inner truth, with our personal truth, and with our cosmic truth. So there is a personal piece here as well, because it is our it is our inner world that is creating our outer world. The other thing I did want to speak of before I move on is Eris, because she is in a square to this Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn dance together conjunction. And she is the feminine warrior. And so many indigenous women are getting the message, and that it is time for the women to lead, and the women are leading. It is time for the women to lead. Eris is the feminine warrior. And, they called her the goddess of discord. And what I say is that the feminine warrior has not had a seat at the table in 5,000 years. So yeah, she is disruptive. She causes discord until she gets a seat at the table. And it is time for the women to lead. Back in 2012, the winter solstice, December 21st, 2012, there was a ceremony that was held at Grandmother Flor de Mayo's in New Mexico. She's one of the grandmothers of the International Council of the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. And she had a ceremony there, and the Mayan elders from Central America came, and they were the men, and they said they had been carrying the staff of power for 5,000 years. And maybe not 5,000 years, but a long time. They had been carrying it for a long time, and I don't know the number of years that they said. But the thing is that they were passing it on to the women. They said Mother Earth had told them it is time to pass the staff of power to the women, and that the men are to be their protectors, and the women are to take the lead. And these ceremonies were done, and they were to be rippled out, to be done in all of our smaller communities. And it is time for the women to lead. I just want to bring that in. Time for the feminine warrior. Okay. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is that Neptune-Mars conjunction that is in a square to not only the nodes of the moon, but to the eclipse. And so first off, I want to talk about Mars, because Mars is just such a big player right now. Talked a little bit earlier about Mars being the warrior, and setting the line in the sand of saying, no, we can't do this no more. Mars is the defender, Mars is the protector. And we also, like I said, see that the feminine warrior is stepping up to the plate and taking the lead. And in many instances I have seen where the women are the ones in the front lines. And I do also want to acknowledge that the people who created Black Lives Matter was women. The leader of the Me Too movement was a Black woman. So I want to really call out to these women leaders. But so Mars in Pisces and conjunct Neptune is a little scattered. So we have this volcanic energy rising, but Mars can sometimes in Pisces, it can kind of become befuddled and kind of not know what to do. And because Neptune and Pisces both, they're the field, and they cast like a fog over everything. So it's not clear to see. Sometimes it's not easy to see the way forward. Okay, that's what I want to say. That's what I think this is one of the things that is saying. And so what it is saying is that it is about following your own inner compass, your own inner GPS. In our quest for the truth, in this Sagittarian quest for the truth, to know that the truth lies in our heart, and you'll feel lies in your gut. You'll feel the truth in your heart. At least that's the way I do. I'm not going to say everyone does that, but that's the way I do. And Rumi also did say that, that truth brings you a peaceful heart. And I think that is it, because sometimes truth is hard, but once we know it, it gives us peace, and we have a sense of what to do. And I'm going to say there's so much misinformation and lies floating around. It's hard to know what the truth really is. So I feel like a piece of this is saying that the truth lies in your heart, and you will feel a sense of peace when you when it is true. And when it is not true, just for me, my experience is that I feel it in my gut. So I feel like that is a piece of this, showing us the way forward, is to know we're going to feel it. Okay. And to know that there is a lot of misinformation and lies, and a lot of these are going to be uncovered in this eclipse season. And as we say, or as I've said earlier, is as the truth is being exposed, the truth is being exposed, but will we believe it? Because Neptune and Mars, it can also be that part of us that wants to believe what it wants to believe, and especially if it takes us into cognitive dissonance. And as it is being exposed, it shows us that our belief system doesn't line up with it. And that can actually be kind of painful, because our belief system sometimes gives us a sense of security, but we're being asked to have the courage to go out of our comfort zone and say, what if this were true, and to allow possibility to happen. Okay, and if you will open that door, you'll find out lots of things are true that we or lots of things are untrue that we have believed are true. And the other thing I want to say about this is, and the other thing is, of course, too, with the Mars involved, there is an attack on journalists. There is an attack on the truth. Journalists are the ones out there trying to discover the truth. But I also want to say that often the networks that are owned by corporations, they don't allow the truth to come through. So it isn't, the journalists are out there trying to do their job, but what actually gets published is not always what the journalist has done. But now that's even access of their ability to get the truth. There's actually a war and attack upon journalists by our militarized police. And the other thing I want to say is, I don't want to make the police the enemy, because they are humans. And a lot of the police, not a lot, but it is being shown, many police are putting down their arms and walking and marching with the protesters. They recognize the humanity of this situation, and we need to support that. I know I read an article by someone saying, don't trust the police that are doing this. Well, what do we want? We want to awaken the hearts of these police. They are humans. We want their humanitarian, we want their humanity awakened. Okay. And so I say to support them and to share everything we can about the good things that they do, not only for the public, but for each other, so that the police can, maybe someone could say, wow, he did that. Maybe I could do that too. I have family. I know things aren't right. Maybe this law is a bad law. Not all laws are good. I mean, there's law and order, and not all laws are good. And that is another thing that is being unveiled, bad laws. And so also the other thing I want to say about Mars is an activator. He adds, he's like a catalyst. He's like adding cayenne pepper to your recipe. And it makes things come alive. It kind of adds some life force and vigor. There's a lot of life force and vigor that comes through Mars. And so it's an activator. And in Pisces, and conjunct Neptune in Pisces, it is about an activation of that unified field. Neptune is unity consciousness. And so it feels to me like in this lunar eclipse, it's going to really activate all of those prayer circles and healing circles, all of that love energy that we're putting out into the field. And that is the energy that we want to bring forward. And to pray for the police, to pray for these men and women that are upholding the law, that they will remember their hearts and their humanity and step away from, lay down their weapons. And that's what needs to happen with soldiers. I mean, this is the way wars will end, really, is for those involved to say no. And that is the warrior, the defender. Many know that, they have children, and they want their children to have a better world, and that what is happening is not good for their children, and not good for them, and not good for their families. So, I would say, please bring them into your prayers, as well as all of the leaders, that everyone has a heart opening and awakening. I'm not saying it will happen, and I'm not saying I'm being a Pollyanna, not recognizing the danger here, and yet it is a big truth. And so these, like I said, these prayer circles are really important. And I do want to share a dream that I had, because Spirit really wants it told. And it was a few nights ago, and I was in a beautiful body of water. It was blue, like this blue behind me, like pictures of the Nile that I have seen, in different bodies of water, just incredibly blue and still. And I was with a companion, and I was looking for this certain place where love was. And he said to me, "Silly girl, love is everywhere. We're in a sea of love." And I woke up suddenly, and well, I was in the dream, I didn't wake up from the dream. I became aware that I was in a sea of love, and my heart just opened, and it felt so beautiful. And I just swam and swam and swam in this beautiful sea of love and water. And water is that part that does connect us. And you know, Pisces is water, and Neptune does represent the great cosmic sea, where we are all connected and where there is love. And so to know that it is there, and we are surrounded by love, and there are so many helpers here. As Rick Tarnas says, they've come from all over the universe to help us in this shift, beings from all over. So call on your spirit guides. I call on Mother Goddess all the time, Great Mother Isis, Ma'at, the goddess of cosmic law and justice and truth, and all of the beings from Sirius, and all of the different star constellations. They are here, so call upon them. And of course, our primary guide through all of this is Mother Earth, and that is Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus in Taurus is telling us to, Taurus is so much about the earth. And, Uranus is her consciousness. Uranus is a cosmic consciousness. It's the cosmic consciousness of Mother Earth. And it's also having to do with her electrical field. Uranus rules electricity. And it is coming into alignment with Mother Earth. And one of the ways we come into alignment with her electrical field is by walking barefoot on the grass, on the ground. Just on the ground, making contact with our feet. That is what helps us ground, what helps us align with Mother Earth. And there's a great movie called Earthing, in case you that has got some great ideas. It's also a book, this Earthing the movie, about aligning our electrical field with the electrical field of Mother Earth. But the main message I keep getting from Mother Earth is to just hold our seats. That she is holding us in her lap as we are moving through this. And I also believe it is about these prayer circles. It is about recognizing that we are the field, and what we put into the field is what we are creating. And we are in the great pause. And what we create as the breakdown is happening during the great pause, it is a time for dreaming a new dream. The indigenous elders say we've been dreaming the wrong dream. And to know that everything we create on the etheric field before it comes into manifestation. So as the structures are falling, it is time to create and to think big. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. It's about big. It's about seeing the big picture. We need to have big dreams now, and always make a space for what we believe to be the impossible, because it's not. In the world of spirit, nothing is impossible, and miracles happen all the time. And so, yes, it is that, the Lord helps those who help themselves, and that is absolutely true. We need to keep doing our work, but hold that space for spirit to do magic and to do miracles. All right, so this is my message for the lunar eclipse. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I also do readings. You can reach me through my website at sibylstar.com. And I also am on a radio show called Political Star Talk on Third Eye Radio. We meet on the We meet at 11 o'clock every other Wednesday. We met today. And so if you want to check that out, that's very much a political perspective of what's happening. All right, wishing you all the best. All right, bye.